swine flu and propaganda in Ukraine. SkyWatchTV for Tuesday, January 26th, 2016. I'm Derek Gilbert. An outbreak of deadly swine flu in Ukraine is being spun by the opposing sides in the ongoing civil war there. Health officials in Kyiv report 18 dead and 250 hospitalized in a town in eastern Ukraine from a deadly strain of the flu. Now, a news source located in the rebel-held area of Donbass, the Donbass International News Agency, claims that the 18 dead and 250 sick that are being reported are victims of a virus that's escaped from an American biological lab in the town of Kharkov, and that the dead and sick are Ukrainian soldiers. Now, bear in mind, again, that the Donbass International News Agency is based in the rebel-held area of Donetsk, eastern Ukraine, and that these rebels are backed by Moscow. So this could be Russian spin. Radio Free Europe, which is financed by U.S. taxpayers, reports this deadly flu outbreak is in the city of Kramatorsk. Again, 18 dead, 250 ill, and that doctors are surprised by the mortality of this virus. But Radio Free Europe says also that doctors can't identify the specific strain of the virus because the laboratory they need to use is in Donetsk, which is behind rebel lines. Now, again, this could be spin because it seems to me there's got to be at least another laboratory somewhere in Ukraine, perhaps the capital, Kyiv, that could identify a strain of influenza virus. And if not there, then somewhere else in Europe, perhaps. Now, trying to get at the facts of the story, Kramatorsk is about 3 hours' drive from Kharkov. And as far as I know, I can't find any other stories or any other reports of mysterious illnesses around Kharkov, so the people in Kramatorsk are probably not victims of an American biological laboratory experiment gone bad. So be discerning when you see headlines on news sites on the internet claiming that a biological leak is responsible for this illness. Now, there is an outbreak of H1N1, what we in the U.S. call swine flu, but I've learned in Ukraine they call it California flu, has killed 51 people in Ukraine. Thousands are sick. Schools have been closed in Ukraine for more than a week to try to slow the spread of the virus. This outbreak is also confirmed in Armenia, Russia, and Kazakhstan, possibly Moldova as well. In 2009 in Ukraine, an outbreak of H1N1, California flu, turned into a pandemic. Between October and December of 2009, more than 1,000 people died, 200,000 were hospitalized, and over 2 million people got sick. And this in a nation of 46 million people. A doctor in Western Ukraine, quoted by the BBC, said he did postmortems on 2 of the victims there and told the BBC that their lungs were coal black. They looked like they'd been burned. Some people were comparing it to the Spanish flu of 1918 and 1919. So you can see why another flu outbreak similar in Ukraine, well, even if it isn't really similar, would have a strong psychological impact, and why opposing sides in the ongoing civil war there might choose to use this for psychological impact, propaganda purposes. In fact, there were people back in 2009, observers, who were convinced that candidate for president Yulia Tymoshenko used and exploited the flu outbreak to get herself elected, comparing her care for the victims. She was shown in multiple camera or photo opportunities visiting the sick in hospitals and criticizing the government's response to the outbreak. And this is a time-honored political tradition. In the words of Rahm Emanuel, the mayor of Chicago, never let a good crisis go to waste. And in fact, for people from Chicago like me, of about my age, we remember 1979 and the blizzard that cost then Mayor Michael Bolandic his reelection. His poor response to the snow led to a defeat in the primaries to Jane Byrne, and Chicago got its first woman mayor. Now, another virus is worrying health officials in the Western Hemisphere, specifically South and Central America. The Zika virus was only discovered in 1947, and it was unknown outside of Africa until 2007. It has since spread to Polynesia, Southeast Asia, and South America. The first case hit Brazil last May. It is now confirmed in most of the Brazilian states. It's spread by mosquitoes. There's no vaccine. For most people like you and me, it would be a mild a mild illness, some joint pain, coughing, mild fever, perhaps conjunctivitis, but that's about it. After about 7 days, it's over. But for pregnant women in their first trimester, it can have devastating effects on the unborn child, often leading to microcephaly, which is a condition where the baby is born with an abnormally small head, and that's usually linked to incomplete brain development. Brazil normally sees about 150 children a year born with microcephaly. Since health officials in Brazil began investigating the link between the Zika virus and microcephaly, they've identified almost 3,900 cases since October. The Centers for Disease Control here in the U.S. advising pregnant women to hold off traveling to 13 nations in Latin America and the Caribbean, as well as Puerto Rico and the U.S. Virgin Islands. Officials in Brazil and El Salvador are advising women to avoid getting pregnant until 2018. Brazil deploying genetically modified mosquitoes to bring down the population of mosquitoes there and contain the spread of the Zika virus. Another story we need to go into in some depth, the war on cash is heating up. This has prophetic implications. The largest bank in Norway is joining calls from colleagues in Denmark and Sweden to eliminate physical money. This follows news that the People's Bank of China, which is China's central bank, and the International Monetary Fund are hailing the virtues of virtual cash. The claims are that digital currency will lower the cost of financial transactions and curb crime by making it more difficult for criminals to launder money. But the real reason, I suspect, and this isn't me being smart, this is me just reading a lot of stuff written by guys who are smart, is that as the global economy shrinks and people like you and me get nervous about the health of the banks that are holding our money, as we did, you remember, see a wave of bank defaults, banks that went under in 2009 and 2010. Bankers are afraid that we will decide to pull our money out of their institutions and instead put those physical dollars and cents into coffee cans or under our mattresses. I mean, let's face it, bank interest on deposited money right now is a joke. 0.1% per year or less. And you and I are considered unsecured creditors to the banks that are holding our money. You did know that, right? I mean, we basically are lending money to the bank when we deposit. The difference is that when the bank lends us money, they hold on to the title of the car or they put a lien against our house until we pay them back. When we give money to the bank, we get a little paper receipt. And as unsecured creditors, we will be the first ones who take a haircut if the banks go under. This was the takeaway from the 2010 Dodd-Frank Act, which was passed in the wake of those bank defaults 6 years ago. You see, they sold it as a great way to avoid taxpayer bailouts of the banks. No more taxpayer bailouts. Yay! Instead, we have creditor bail-ins. Now, that sounds great until you remember that you and me are the creditors, and we're unsecured creditors, meaning that we cover whatever losses the secured creditors can't cover. In other words, they get their money out first, and whatever's left gets divided up amongst, and that's not protected by FDIC insurance, by the way. So what does this have to do with the war on cash? Well, again, if you and I are concerned about the health of the bank holding our money, right now, we can go down to the bank and pull it out, and like I said, put it in a coffee can, bury it in the yard, or stick it under a mattress. But if governments do away with physical cash, and it's all digital currency, you can't stick that in your wallet, in a can, or under your mattress. It has to be in a bank somewhere, even though it's not physical money. A bank has to track it somehow, and thus has control over it. The war on cash is about making sure that all of us have our liquid assets, money, in the possession and under the control of a bank somewhere. It is how they will keep their control over us, keep their hold on us, track our purchases. This is all part of the growing global technocracy movement. I'll get that right. Technocracy movement and the coming one world government. our ability to buy and sell under the control of a single government entity. Now, one bit of good news regarding the technocracy movement: a pair of utility companies in Canada are getting rid of their smart meters. Now, these are the internet-connected, networked electric meters on our homes, which are ostensibly there to help balance the power load during times of high demand. What they're really there for is to track, collect, and share lots and lots of information about how we live without our knowledge or consent. Smart meters are a key component in the smart grid, which is an essential part of a pure technocratic system. Harvesting data, sharing data, the technocrats need loads and loads of data in order to figure out how to order our lives for maximum efficiency. Hydro One, a power company in Ontario, has admitted after years of problems that rural smart meters don't work, and so they are scrapping about 36,000 of them. And BC Hydro, British Columbia, is getting rid of about 88,000 meters in Western Canada. There are two problems with these meters. First of all, Wi-Fi connections in rural areas, as I have come to learn, usually pretty bad. Secondly, the lifespan of these smart meters is estimated at about 15 years, but experts are saying now that that is overly optimistic, whereas the old analog meters generally last about 40 years before they have to be swapped out. And they don't spy on you for the government. A store in Los Angeles specializing in folk medicine and spiritual items has been closed by authorities after police found 9 human skulls in the shop. LA County Sheriff's Police had responded to a complaint of animal cruelty. Upon examining the shop, they found the bones. Now, the shop specializes in items related to Santeria, which is a syncretic religion that blends West African paganism, mainly from Nigeria's Yoruba tribe, with Roman Catholicism. And the skulls are often used as part of religious practices within Santeria. Police say it doesn't appear that foul play, homicide was involved. They are going to do testing to see if they can identify the skulls. They may have been purchased from a legal source, according to police. In a spiritual sense, however, that doesn't make it any less evil. And finally, here's something I didn't expect to find today. Actually, didn't expect to find ever. A comic book publisher has announced that it's launching a new series featuring the world's first gay Mormon superhero. Gay Mormon superhero. The so-called Stripling Warrior features Sam Shepard, a happy newlywed married to another man, who receives a visit from an angel on his wedding night, calling him to be the hand of God on earth. This is wrong on a couple of levels. By the way, stripling just means youth, young adult, teen kind of thing. Although looking at the cover art, which I won't show you, you might get a different idea. But it's based on Mormon legend, a group of 2,000 stripling warriors who proved themselves valorous in battle. It's from Mormon, the Book of Mormon. But look, none of us are perfect, okay? I don't sit here in front of this camera because I am any more righteous than anyone else. None are righteous. No, not one. All fall short, have sinned and fall short of the glory of God. But it is not okay to redefine God's standard of morality as laid out for us in Scripture. That is rebellion. And given the Mormon Church's strong support of Proposition 8, the California pro-family law that was passed back in the day and then overturned by the courts, I would not be surprised to learn very shortly that the creator of the Stripling Warrior has been given the left foot of fellowship by the Church of Latter-day Saints. Now, God does have a supernatural task force called the Divine Council that does occasionally intervene at His direction to carry out His will in human affairs. The Divine Council, you find evidence for it in the Bible, but it's not something we're usually taught in church. Dr. Michael Heiser explains why as he talks about his new book, The Unseen Realm, tonight on SkyWatchTV. SkyWatchTV airs at 9:30 p.m. Eastern Time, 6:30 p.m. Pacific Time on the Christian Television Network. That's available on satellite TV. That's DirecTV, channel 376, Dish Network, channel 267, and the Glory Star satellite, channel 117. If you don't get satellite TV, or if you're outside the U.S., by the way, that 9:30 p.m. time is UTC -5. You'll find the Christian Television Network's live web stream at ctnonline.com. And of course, if you miss the program tonight, you'll be able to see it later this week on the official SkyWatch TV channel on Roku. If you have a Roku box but haven't added us to your account yet, log on, search their channel store, and add SkyWatch TV. And if you need instructions, we've got that posted at skywatchtv.com/Roku. Track your journey through what promises to be a very interesting year in 2016 and get this very classy wooden bookmark to boot. It's our gift to you, the Miracles Journal and the wooden bookmark, our gift to you for your financial gift of any amount to SkyWatch TV during the month of January while supplies last. If you need instructions on how to donate, you'll find them at skywatchtv.com/donate. And you can also help SkyWatch TV with this, your mouse finger. Click, like, share, or both to the things that we post at these places here. And the things that we are doing online will then be shared with your friends, family members, and colleagues. And of course, if you're curious about what's rattling around inside here, you'll find it there, Twitter, Facebook, and my webpage. And of course, my email address. If you have questions or comments for us here at SkyWatch TV, dgilbert@skywatchtv.com. Thank you for watching. As we keep watch, I'm Derek Gilbert, and this is SkyWatch TV.